So look, in this world, if you attract the right people into your life, the right partner, the right friends, and in this case, the right client, your life will be bliss. If you attract the wrong people, it will be a living nightmare. So let's not go ahead and make that mistake. And let me go ahead and distill the lessons that I've learned over the past 5 years as to what a nightmare client looks like and what an angel client looks like and how to attract the right one into your life. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Attracting A1 clients. Now, in today's teachings, we are going to go over defining your dream client, diving into the repercussions of a bad client, how to spot a bad client, crazy/profitable scale, what the ideal client acts like, and lastly, putting the control back in your hands. Now, before we get into this module, I know you might be thinking, E-man, why does this really matter? Because a paying client is a paying client. And, you might be like, yes, they may be a little bit more trouble, they may be a little bit more effort, but at the end of the day, they still pay. Like there's no financial repercussion to bring on a bad client. Let me just go ahead and read you an excerpt from a great book called Profit First. So ladies and gents, here are lessons from Profit First, a great book by Mike. Not going to try to say his last name. By the way, this is available for download right below this video. So I'm going to go ahead and quote it. Strategic sorted the clients from each company into 4 sections in descending order based on revenue. For example, if a company had 100 clients, the 25 clients who generated the most revenue were put in the top quartile, the next 25 highest revenue generating clients in the second quartile, and so on. Strategic found that the top quartile generated 89% of the total revenue, while the lowest quartile only accounted for a meager 1% of total revenue. It gets worse. The study found that each group of clients required pretty much the same amount of effort, so cost and time. This means that it took the same amount of effort to serve a big revenue client as it did a client who barely affected revenue at all. Then came the awkward gulp moment. So Strategic's profit analysis showed that the top quartile generated 150% of a company's profits. The 2 middle quartiles were effectively break even, and the bottom quartile, the one that generated 1% of the total revenue, resulted in a profit loss of 50%. In the end, the profits generated from the top clients are used in part to pay for the losses accrued in serving the bottom clients. Now, the reason I share this with you is not to scare you off of working with low ticket clients, okay? Because at the end of the day, you could have a client that pays you $1,000 a month, but is respectful, on time, etc., etc. And even though, let's say even your standard or your average retainer at this point is $2,500 a month, but they're $1,000 a month, they've been with you for 11 months, and they're just respectful, they're on time, and things kind of tick along. Those are actually sometimes the best clients. We find the best clients are actually kind of in the middle. We usually find that it's either the ones that pay the most, or sometimes it's the ones that pay the least, know that they're getting a really sweet deal, right? In the same way, like, some tenants, right, who have been in a house for 5 years and the landlord has never increased rents, they know that they are paying a cheap rent, right? So they are well behaved to the landlord, and then the landlord knows that, hey, I know I could probably increase rents, but they've been a great tenant to me, so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna let them basically have it, even though they're getting a sweet deal, right? And it works both ways, and sometimes that works with agency clients too, right? A client, you're getting incredible results for them, and you know that you're probably undercharging, and they know you're undercharging, so both parties are pretty respectful, right? So it can work like that. So I'm not scaring you off of low ticket, or I'm not saying that you should only focus on whale clients. Not at all, right? I think in one of the other modules, I made it very, very clear when it comes to pricing that we've kind of realized over the past few years that, some of these lower ticket clients, or at least for us lower ticket, which means, a $4,000 billable or a $5,000 billable, but a client that's been with us for 11 months, like to us, that's been really, really valuable, right? Whereas 2019, I kind of disregard that as valuable because I'm like, that's such a cheap retainer, et cetera, et cetera. So that's not what I'm trying to do here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you some red flags to watch out for, so that way you don't get into a situation where you're barely charging someone, right? So you're charging a client very cheap, but then they're also a nightmare. Now, also on the flip side, by the way, guys, it also does apply that a client, you charge them a lot of money, and then they're also a nightmare, but at least potentially it might be worth to deal with that nightmare. Whereas if a client, you're not charging them much and they're a nightmare, then it's probably a net loss in terms of the time and effort that you put in. So the next thing we're going to look at is the crazy profitable scale, right? Because that'll give us a little bit of a depiction. It'll just kind of put it into visual terms, and this will be coming up in one of the next few slides, because it'll give us a bit of a depiction as to where does someone really stand, right? And we can actually kind of put a bit of a numerical value behind it. So ladies and gents, as you can see right here, this is the crazy profitable scale, right? So we're going to give them a profitability number of 0 to 10, right? They're somewhere within that. And then we're going to give them a crazy number of 4 to 10, because I'm sure if you guys ever seen that original video of the crazy hot scale, there is no such thing as a 0 crazy, right? So we're going to give them a 0 to 10 profitable. We're going to give them a 4 to 10 crazy. And here's the line in between. So if we break this up, so anything that is between a 4 to 10 crazy and a 0 to 5 profitable, just don't bother, right? Because if they're a low, if they're low ticket, or they're like below average of what your average retainer is, and they're extremely crazy, then probably don't worry about it, right? It's probably best just to avoid, or if you're at a stage of your agency where you can afford to, potentially just drop them. Now you might be at a stage where you only have 3 clients, and one is, your average retainer is $2,500 a month, one is $1,200 a month, $1,400 a month, and they're just kind of annoying, and they ask too many questions and this and that. You're not really at the stage where I think it's wise for you to drop a client. But if you're at a stage where you have 8 or 9 clients, then yeah, for sure, it could be very, very wise to drop them, right? Then next up, we have the danger zone. Now, this is a zone where they are extremely profitable, right? Or they're very profitable. They're between a 5 to 10 profitable, but they're also extremely crazy. It's one of those situations where they're super annoying, they're super draining, but then on the flip side, that juicy retainer, I mean, damn, they're pulling through with that fatty retainer, right? And that's kind of that's kind of the danger of being in the zone. Next up, we have the cash flow hungry zone. So this is where they're very profitable, right? But they can also be relatively crazy. And this is where, as I said, you're at that stage of the journey where, it's probably if, you had 3 times or twice as many clients as you currently have, you probably wouldn't keep them on, but you're at that stage where you need the cash flow. Then we've got the 3-month minimum stage, right? And this is where this is a client that's good to work for as long as, just as long as the relationship runs for, whether that's 3 months, 6 months, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very crazy client, but also extremely profitable. Then we've got a client who's, not really that crazy. Like, there's, maybe there's a hiccup here and there, or there's a misunderstanding here and there, but they are extremely profitable. Then we've got the unicorn phase. And this is when a client is just smooth sailing, no issues. If anything ever happens, they're understanding, they're not just going to let you walk all over them or anything like that, right? Both sides are going to be extremely respectful, but, they're understanding, if an ad account gets shut down, whatever, it's part of the process, not your fault. If there's ever, a 14-day period where results aren't, where they normally are, hey, no stress, there's natural peaks and troughs in business, et cetera, et cetera. As I said, this isn't a client that's going to let you walk all over them, but as long as you're respectful and you're doing your job, they're very understanding and accommodating, and they're super profitable, and that is unicorn client. And when you come into contact with unicorn client, make sure you don't fuck it up. And as I said, right here, most of my clients are in these territories these days. In fact, I'd say right where it's cash flow hungry, I'd say you could actually blend the two, because I'm finding now, as I said, a lot of the times I'm less agitated by some of these smaller retainers if they are a breeze to work with, right? If they're a joy to work with. And as I said, it takes a long time to get to this stage. And first of all, it takes a long time to even just identify where people are in this. And by the way, guys, don't take this super, super seriously. I just thought it was funny, considering that crazy profitable or crazy hot scale. If you guys haven't watched it, there's a guy does one about women, and then there's parody versions where women do it about men. Definitely recommend you watch it. So guys, don't take this too seriously. But the point is, there is a sliding scale that most clients fall under. So as I said, don't take this as gospel. But the next thing that I'm going to go over is I'm going to show you a right client and a wrong client checklist. So let's get into it. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the wrong client checklist. First things first, haggling, right? So if they try to haggle your price down when you tell them the price, it is a huge red flag. Right now, if they're a little cheeky and they try to get away with it, that's okay. But if they aggressively try to get the price down, just walk away. Right. So I've had clients in the past be like, I've told them price. And by the way, this is very rare. I'm talking maybe 10% of situations. And they're like, can we do this instead? And they give a reason as to why. Right. And that's not haggling. That's negotiating. Right. And in every single one of those situations, I've never actually succumbed to their negotiations. And they've always pretty much, every single time they pretty much said yes. But to me, that's not like a a massive red flag, right? And some cultures, by the way, that it's also a massive cultural thing. In some cultures, that's normal, whereas in some cultures, it's considered rude, to have a service provider. If we're service providers, if we're a service provider and we're telling them our price, and then they try to haggle, or not haggle, they try to negotiate. In some cultures, that's considered rude, whereas in some cultures, it's expected, right? So that's not too much of a wrong client checklist. It's more if they like aggressively try to haggle down the price and are only price conscious. The next thing is communication, right? So I'll show you on the onboarding module how to set expectations super clear so they know just to message you on Slack and Slack only. Well, I guess that applies if you use Slack. I know the majority of people, including myself, obviously use Agency Flow in the program. But the point is, in the onboarding module, I'm going to show you how to train them to only keep it on one communication platform, right? So they know that, as I said, in this case, keep it in Agency Flow. For those of you guys that use Slack, I mean, for those of you guys who are foolish enough to use WhatsApp to communicate with clients, I mean, even Slack's just so broken in every single way these days. It just seems like every month it gets worse and worse. But point is, I'm going to show you how to keep it on one communication platform. Now, if they continue to disobey and message you on other platforms, plus gets angry when you don't respond within 6 hours, or just generally communicate with you too much, just get rid of them, right? So if a client, like here's the thing, if a client messages you and you respond 2 days later, of course, they're within their right to be a little agitated. Where if they send you a message and you don't respond 7 hours later, that's not acceptable, right? And you're gonna have to train them. The other thing is, as I said, like your team, like everything in life, you kind of have to train people. And because here's the thing, and this is the most important thing that you need to understand. This applies in relationships, friendships, whatever it is. And we've already talked about this, right? There will be a guy who treats one girl like shit and the other one like an absolute queen, right? And the only difference between these two people is the boundaries that they set and the way that they conduct themselves. Right? As I said, one person will be super late to meet one friend and they will be so punctual, so on time to meet another person, right? So it's all down to the boundaries you set. And that's the exact same thing with clients, right? I've had clients of mine who are clients of the agency, but then I've also introduced them to, in the past, I've worked with, some cool coaches, some biohacking coaches I've introduced them to, detoxing coaches, and they have treated me like an absolute angel. And then they've treated some of the service providers I've introduced them to not terribly, but not so great. And I've heard that, right? And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is the level of respect and the level of boundaries that you set, and the boundaries and the level, the boundaries that you set without being, too intense, is really the respect that you command, right? So that's the main thing to understand, is that one client will treat you like shit, but then will treat someone else amazingly, or they may treat you amazing, but just understand that, they may treat someone else like shit. Now, a good person treats kind of, for the most part, everyone the same, right? But still there's little discrepancies. So the next thing is credit, right? Now, if they don't give credit where credit is due, they don't say thank you, if they're overall not polite and courteous, then just get rid of them, right? Now, also keep in mind, guys, this wrong client checklist and me saying, hey, get rid of them, walk away from them, this is something that you can do once you get to a certain stage of your agency. For some of you guys, you're not at that stage of your agency where you can afford to walk away or you can afford to get rid of a client, right? This is something that you aspire to and you work towards. Sometimes I love to listen to Frank Sinatra, at the end of a long work week, him singing "I Did It My Way." And that's one of my biggest joys and pride. The fact that in my businesses, I've always done it my way, right? I've never bended to anyone else's will. I've never bended to, guys, even things that I did back in 2018, decisions I made, right? 2018, I made a decision, everything would be remote. My team would be remote. We would not open an office. All of my Zoom calls were remote. I even had clients in London who were like, hey, can we just meet in person? I'm like, no, we do things on Zoom. That's just the way we do it, right? So my point is, from day one, I did it my way, right? And a lot of people thought, that in 2018, you needed an office to be a real, high-level agency, right? And you needed an office and you needed full-time employees that came into the office every single day, and you needed to have clients over into your space, into your office, and this and that. And they thought that, agencies conduct themselves in a certain way, and, there's agencies have to send proposals and this. And I went, fuck it, I'm going to do it my way, right? And guys, you will get to a point where, I have learned not only the most practical way to run an agency, but also the most enjoyable way to run an agency. And I've relayed I've relayed all of that to you guys in this program. But then outside of that, there may be other things that you want to, other traits that you want to embody with your agency. And you can get to a point once you build up your agency, you too can get to a point where, you know, it's a Sunday, it's your day off or your Saturday or whatever. You're smoking a cigar, maybe you're having a glass of wine, maybe you don't enjoy cigars or wine, and you're there enjoying a nice keto hot chocolate. If that's the thing that you're into, you know, that's basically me half the year when I don't, I don't drink, I don't have caffeine, except for the amounts in the hot chocolate, no carbs, basically, I'm doing heavy keto, basically carnivore, and that's me half the year, right? And still, I'm there on my Saturday and I'm enjoying it. I'll be listening to Frank Sinatra and be like, good, I did it my way. And I think that's the most important thing. Even if you make less money, I think it's important that you do it your way. But that is a right that you earn, as I said. And this wrong client checklist it's something to watch out for, to it's really something to take heed of. But in terms of taking action on it and, getting rid of clients, it's something that, as I said, you earn, right? You get to a point where you can earn that right, okay? So that is the wrong client checklist. Once again, you really, really need to understand that one client will treat you a certain way and will treat another service provider a totally different way. And as much as good as people are, and even treat everyone the absolute same, it's definitely an undeniable fact that there's some people where I'm on good behavior and there's some people where I'm on my best behavior, right? And as I said, it always comes down to the boundaries that you set, okay? And this module is especially important. This module and phase 2 is especially important for people who have a history of not keeping good boundaries, right? And, you may have a history of, in previous relationships, in previous friendships, kind of letting people walk over you, right? And not holding your own. And if that's the case, then it's super, super important, as I said, that you rewatch phase 2, you rewatch this module, and you're even more tentative of it, right? With me, for example, and this only started from the age of probably like 15, 16, because prior to that, like I let people walk all over me all the time, right? As I said, I wasn't a very popular kid at school. And then I became a little bit popular, but then I made myself unpopular by fucking sitting alone at lunchtime, reading and meditating. It was weird, right? Like I definitely could have been a popular kid, but I was just, I was just fucking weird, right? Or considered weird at that time. So my point is, up until the age of 14, 15, I used to really let people walk all over me. And then boundaries is something that I developed, right? So for me, I don't worry about this too much with clients because I know my natural instinct is very strong, very set boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. So what I've actually had to learn over the past few years is how to ease up and how to understand people's point of views more and not be so rigid on the boundaries that I set, right? But especially if you have a track record of letting people walk all over you, this is so important and you really, really need to take extra heed of this. So next up is right clients. Now, here's the right client checklist. Effort. They realize that they need to put in effort in order to get results. They understand that they can't just expect your agency to turn around their entire business. They need to get assets to you, work on improvements / suggestions you offer to them, and hold up their end of the bargain if you're sending them leads. Next thing is communication. They let you get it to work and they don't over communicate with you. They realize if you spend all your time communicating, you have no time left to actually get results for them. Next thing is patient. When they have questions or concerns about the process and you logically qualm all those concerns, they'll listen, take it in, and actually be patient and trust you on the process. Next thing is friendship. Now, with almost all of my clients, I actually start to develop an amazing friendship with them. We joke about things outside the business, we get close and send them out gifts, etc., etc. Now, ladies and gents, I think that is pretty much all self-explanatory. I think the one that is most important to understand is really just that top one, which is effort. So as I said, and this is something you need to watch out for, especially for some of the more beginner clients, is they think that, they can hand everything off to you and you're going to be a miracle worker. That's not the way it works. And that's also why you really want to watch out for businesses that haven't really built proof of concept, that really haven't been able to validate things themselves yet, right? And they're just getting off the ground, right? Because they think that there is a magic pill, right? And at the end of the day, it's not. You can't turn a failing business into a good business, right? So that's the other thing that they really need to understand. And that they need to understand that, and they also need to understand that it's a two-way thing. And maybe this is also something, and this is something that I really do when it comes to my sales process and onboarding, is I make it really, really clear, like, hey, this is a team effort, and look, we're going to be able to get results, but the magnitude of how good results we're able to get is based off of the synergy between us, right? So if we ask for assets, how quickly can you get it to us? If we ask, if we propose this new funnel or this new offer, how quickly can you action it? Because there's certain things that we just can't do. We try to do as much as we can for clients, but at the end of the day, there's certain stuff that we just can't do, right? So that's another thing to really look out for, especially with some of those lower ticket clients, those clients that are just more in the early phases of their business. Now, next thing we need to talk about is the 3 rules of client management. So ladies and gentlemen, here are the 3 rules of client management. The first one is boundaries. Now, a client will treat one service provider like garbage and the other one like a king. The only difference is the perceived value and the boundaries you put in place to achieve that perceived value. Now, just a quick reminder, all of these are available for download right below this video. Now, the next thing is friendship. Now, it is actually a great strategic move. Plus, it's just more fulfilling running agency to become friends with your clients as soon as possible, because it's a lot harder to fire a friend than someone you just see as purely a service provider. So connect with your clients on a one-on-one level, send them a small gift when they sign with you, and joke around in Slack, Agency Flow, whatever communication platform you use, right? Have inside jokes, mess around with them, right? Break that formal wall, right? I found that is a really, really good way to keep clients on for as long as possible. The next thing is reflection, right? You will have good clients when you're a good client, right? I have amazing clients because I've always been a great customer or client, right? Whenever I've worked with a service provider in the past, I've thanked the shit out of them and I've been an amazing client to work with, right? When I go to a restaurant, I make sure that I'm an amazing customer. I say thank you and I'm respectful, etc., etc. Ladies and gentlemen, this comes down to, like we've talked many, many times, the world of the outer reflects the world of the inner, right? So in order for you to attract good clients into your life, you need to be a good client. You need to be a good customer, right? You need to embody the same traits that you would expect from clients working with you, okay? And that's super, super important. So the action step for today is I want you to clean your desk/room. Guys, I'm serious, right? Here's what I want you to do. Order, and if you haven't already done this in one of the previous modules, do it now, okay? As I said, clean your desk/room, basically clean up your working space, right? Order some cable management stuff if you have to. Then I want you actually to post your desk setup in the community so we can all see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your workstation, right? This is like, I'm so proud of my office. I'm so proud of my desk setup. Like this is where you get shit done, right? So fucking clean up the cables, right? Clean up the cables. Make sure it's a nice, clean desk, right? Look, you don't need to have the most expensive desk setup or this or that, but just make it clean, right? Go on YouTube, watch some cable management videos if you have to. And then once you've done that, I want you to post in the community a photo of your desk. And we'll all share photos of our desks and stuff like that, right? And you can get some inspiration from different desk setups and stuff like that. Because ladies and gents, look, you should not be fawning over a new pair of Yeezys or a new pair of this or a new pair of that. Like, this is where you spend more time than anything else, right? This should be your pride and joy, right? So don't worry about all this other crap that you can't even business expense or anything like that until you get your house in order, right? Until you get your desk set up in order. And you should really have a dream desk setup, right? That should be something that you aspire towards. So I said, clean up your desk, right? Because a clean desk, a clean desktop is a clean mind, okay? Clean up your desk, clean up your desktop, get some cable management, and then go ahead and post in the community and we'll all share our desk setups. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this module. I'll see you guys in the next one.